The law of attraction is a mysterious force that is at play every moment of our lives. It manifests itself in our thoughts, emotions, actions, and even in the events we attract into our lives. If you understand how this law works, you can consciously use it to create the life you want. First of all, the law of attraction makes no distinction between positive and negative thoughts. It simply sends back to you what you emit. If your most dominant thoughts are negative and coupled with emotions such as fear, anger, or frustration, you will attract negative situations into your life. And on the flip side of that, if your most dominant thoughts are positive and coupled with emotions such as gratitude, joy, and love, you will attract positive situations into your life. If you want to change your life, you have to start by changing your mindset. This means that you must learn to think positively and visualize the life you want. The more you visualize this life with emotion, the more you will attract it to you. But be aware, the law of attraction does not work like a magic wand. You can't just sit on your sofa and wait for things to happen. You need to take concrete steps to achieve your goals. The law of attraction will help you attract the opportunities and the people who will help you achieve the goals, but you still need to act. So my intentions behind having these conversations are to give people the opportunity to share their real life stories of success by working in harmony with the law of attraction. I want to gather as much evidence for people to see that this is real and they too can use the law to create the life they want. So my guest today is the wonderful Padraig. He's the owner of the True North podcast, where he chats to people about topics that are really important in our world today, including how your life experiences can help you discover your true purpose. He also owns the Simply Zen shops, and here you can buy anything from crystals to books and everything spiritual related in between. There is a shop here in Belfast and there's one in Lisburn, and he is also partner to Amy. And today, Padraig's going to share with us an example of how he used the law of attraction to manifest something into his life. Hiya, Padraig.
Thank you very much. That was so lovely.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so delighted that you were really enthused to share this law of attraction that you attracted something into your life. So what is that example, Padraig? What did you attract into your life?
Well, there's plenty, to be fair, but obviously for the purposes of our chat, I'm going to go with how I successfully manifested our business and used the law of attraction for Simply Zen, which is just over 3 years in the making now. And it's insane to think of how far we've came along, but a lot of the work that we've done is very much based on vibration and energy, and of course using the law of attraction for that.
Yes, absolutely. So take us back then, Padraig, what life was like before the business, 3 years ago, before you had your business, or even if it was longer than that. What was the point in your life when you decided you wanted this business?
So it's funny, to be honest, Carrie, because I always had this notion that I wanted to be in business, or I wanted to be my own boss. So I think from a very, very young age, it was always there. The seed was always there. The notion was always there. But it just took a lot of time because, of course, when you're growing up, you're going through school, you're going through a system that sort of programs you to have all of your ducks lined up in a sense. And sometimes we're led down a path unintentionally, and other times we take our own path. And so the business began in 2020, just as we were all coming out of that very, very first lockdown. And I think for me at that point in time, I had just finished a 3-year undergraduate degree. It was a liberal arts degree with history, so completely separate to what I'm doing right now. But really, 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 really interesting. I always had an interest in history anyway. And coming out of the back end of that, I was planning to go and do teaching. And I think I might have told you this before. I've told a few people this on other conversations. But I was going to do a teaching degree in England. And because of the whole situation in 2020 and nobody really knew what was going on, I decided, you know what, I'll defer for a year, I'll put it off, and I'll see what I can do in the meantime. So I was really, really interested in the well-being side of things, spirituality. It's something that I've always been interested in from such a young age. And a couple of years prior to that, I was sort of doing a little bit of development myself, but nothing really mindset orientated in terms of the law of attraction until, well, I suppose 2020 came around. So In May time, I started looking into, how we can use manifestation, how we can use the law of attraction, looking a bit more into different types of energy healing modalities and things like that I wanted to do, crystals, all sorts. And I made the decision, I'm going to defer the place in England for a year and commit myself to doing something that I've always wanted to do, but never had the confidence to sort of step out of my bubble and do that. And I think that's probably the first key step in any person's journey, is that committed decision to be able to go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give this a go. And also we talked about letting go before, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But I think that first key point and that first key step is committing to the task or the goal that you want to achieve. So setting up in 2020, in May or June time, I think it was. And it was really, really simple based at the very start. It was, a couple of online sales here and there for the first month or two. And then it came to August. And this is where things got really, really sort of sped up. But the person, I'll come back to that in a wee second, because you wanted to know about me before that. I was always somebody who was very introverted. I think secretly I had a little bit of confidence in myself. I was a musician. I was going out and doing gigs in pubs and bars in the weekends and stuff. So you sort of have to have a little bit of, vibrancy and confidence to be able to stand on that stage and play a guitar and sing. But it was draining me. It was really, really draining me. I absolutely love doing it, and it's something I'm finding a passion for again. But back then, even though I had the confidence to do that, I wasn't fully confident in who I was. I don't even think I really knew who I was as a person. I might be called Padraig, but deep down, I'm not Padraig. I'm a soul. I'm a spirit made of energy, and I'm here for fuller expansion and further expression. And so I was definitely somebody that lacked confidence in various different ways, and somebody that didn't really have a sense of direction, because like I said, my ducks were always lined up from school, and going into my degree. It was always, from the point of my GCSEs, it was going to be, right, what do you want to be? And I just thought, I always liked teaching. I enjoyed school. It was all right. I wasn't amazing, but I also wasn't terrible at it. And I thought teaching is great. I love the environment. I love the sort of the camaraderie that teachers have as well, because I got to see that firsthand. And then I think when it came to me having that break, having that peace to sort of sit down and think, what do I actually want to do? That was the opportunity for me to step out of my head and step into my heart and let my soul guide me to that next step, which wasn't teaching in the sense that I thought it was going to be. It's teaching in a different sense. And so that's basically where I was at that point in time,
Yes, I love that, project. And I love when you said there, and this is so, so important, because life is so busy for all of us, that you were able to get the break that you needed to slow down and take that time for you to go within, and you then started connecting to your heart. And this is what I love, telling people, and I wish people would make more time to do, because life's so busy. We've never lived in a busier world as we do now, especially with technology. And our lives are constantly, our mind is constantly filled with information, and it's mostly information about everybody else's lives. And we're not using our imagination, which is one of our higher mental faculties. We're not using it as much because we're living in everyone else's imagination by looking at their photographs on Instagram, and all that's okay. But it's asking yourself, where in my day am I freeing up some time for me to go within to my imagination and go within my heart? Because we know in the heart, that's where your intuition actually is. Science now shows that it's in our hearts. So the fact that you were able to do that is what led you to where you are now, because you gave yourself the time to go there and to connect to the spirit that you are. Because like you said, your spirit is always seeking fuller expression through you, because you can always do more, you can always do better, you can always grow. So I love that you pointed that out, because it is so, so important. Do you want to add anything more to who you were back then before we move on?
Well, I think I just want to point out a wee extra note on top of that of what you just said. And still to this day, there's a little part of me deep in the background, still part of my paradigm, that loves to have elements of control over certain situations. I think that it's for a lot of people today, it's very hard to let go of that sense of control sometimes. And I think that back then, just when we're talking about, taking that break, I think that back then I deep down knew that I needed to let go of that teaching degree. I never went back and did the teaching degree. I should make a note of that. I deferred it for a year, and then when it came around to doing it again, I decided not to do it. And I think other people knew that that was going to happen before I even knew it was going to happen, because again, at that point in my life, it was hard for me to let go of the reins and just let the universe, let life, let God, source, whatever it may be, guide me. And I think as well, for me at that point, even though I decided I'm going to take a break and I'm going to give this a go, I still needed to let go of quite a lot. Whether it was, issues going on in family life, or whether it was issues in relationships with other people, with my education in general, because I was so programmed into that mindset of you have to do this and do this and do this, and then you'll get the job that you want, and then you'll get the house that you want because you have the money that you want. And realistically, I wanted to have a greater sense of freedom, I think. And deep down, my soul knew that, my spirit knew that. And I just needed to let go of the reins for a little bit of time until I found out who I truly was and what I truly wanted to do, So letting go on top of making that committed decision was so, so important. So I just wanted to add that wee note for anybody listening.
I mean, the letting go is so scary, and when we want to control things, it's come from a place of fear. But again, it's all down to the reptilian brain we have, that we want to make sure we survive, and it's all about the survival. Even if you are in a 9-to-5 job, a secure job, but it's sucking the soul clean out of you, it's all about survival. And we are going against the grain when we're then connecting to our soul, because we're really fighting against, thousands and thousands of years of programming in our brains of just survival, and that will do. And it is such a big leap of faith to let go and surrender and trust in the process. That is not easy. It is not easy, but that's why I want to have these conversations, to show people. But even though it wasn't easy, but look what all these people achieved when they got involved in the process. So yes, thank you for sharing that, Padraig. So tell us what life is like now, 3 years on. Who is Padraig? What's Padraig up to? And what is life like now that you made the committed decision and you kept surrendering and trusting the process?
Life is just a whirlwind at times, it's incredible to think of how far we've come as a business, how far I've come personally as well. I think 3 years ago, when I was just beginning, and Simply Zen was, just in the very, very early stages, I don't know if I would have imagined where exactly we are right now. I think deep down I did know that this is something that I wanted. I wanted to, have, a big sort of hub, something that screams well-being and wellness and mindset and spirituality in the middle of Belfast city centre. But we had to start where everybody has to start, at the beginning. Life is just a whirlwind, and I am almost here, there, and everywhere. But I try my best to keep myself grounded. I always have this saying, water the grass that you're standing on, not the grass in somebody else's garden, that kind of thing. Focus on the good. Yes, there are bad, we can't deny that. If you bypass that, you're a fool. But you don't need to dwell on it, because if you water the bad, it will grow. And if you water the good, it will grow. But you can only put your attention on one thing at a time, and that's another big thing, is attention as well. If you start putting your eggs in 20 different baskets, it's going to take a long time to be able to fill those baskets up. But me right now, I am very content. I'm very sort of peaceful. I don't have any severe worries, yeah, you get little bits of worries here and there. It's business, it's one of those things. And unfortunately we're human, like you said, and we let those moments creep in at times. I always allow myself maybe 5-10 minutes to sit in that and feel that emotion, because that's just me coming from that uh spiritual soul perspective. And then I let it pass, and then I say, okay, Padraig, right, you've had your 5 minutes, get up and move on, get the work, keep going, and I don't call it work. I don't even know what to call it, because it really is just a love for me. I don't have issues going into simply saying Belfast or simply saying Lisburn, talking to people, having fun with staff, having fun with friends, having fun with family if they come in, clients, whatever it may be. It is just having fun and sharing love, and just expressing ourselves. And I don't, although you have to put a label on it, you have to call it work. It's never work, because I love it so much. Yeah, there's still plenty that I'm aiming to do. There's still plenty of goals that I have, but I think right now where we're at, what I'm doing is I'm growing personally. I'm hoping to do a few more things this year over the next course of the year in terms of personal development and growth that will then hopefully help other people. And as well as that, Simply Zen is at the point where I would call it an adolescent teenager. It's at that stage. It's no longer a baby, but it's still very much growing, and it's still sort of in the moody phase at the minute, but yeah, absolutely loving life at the moment, and everything that comes with it, and the lessons that come with it. That's a big thing. I don't sit down and like I said, I have those 5-10 minutes of moments where I reflect, but then you get up and go on. But yeah, love life.
Oh, I'm so happy for you, Padraig. I mean, so I would assume that you definitely do not regret not going for your teaching.
I don't regret it. Sometimes I look back at it and go, I would make an amazing teacher, and I'm not saying that from an egotistical way, because back then I was going, would I be a good teacher? But I know deep down now, from instilling a deeper sense of faith and trust and love within myself, and having a deeper sense of compassion for myself, I know that whatever I put my mind to, I would be great at it, and I know that being a teacher in the traditional sense in mainstream education would be fantastic for me, but it's not really what I want to do. And I think deep down I realize that, but again, it's one of those things that for anybody listening and watching, having a faith and belief in yourself, and you'll know this as well, Carrie, and instilling a deeper sense of love for yourself will be the starting point for you to be able to move forward and share that with other people. Because I don't even know who says it, but there's somebody famous that says it. It might be RuPaul. How are you going to love yourself if you don't love anybody else? It's so. Or how are you going to love yourself if you don't love anybody else? No,
How do you love someone else if you don't love yourself?
Yeah, sorry. RuPaul fans are going to be coming at me now. I don't watch it. How are you going to love somebody else if you can't love yourself? It is so true. And I found that in my relationships with family, my relationships with friends, my relationships with colleagues and clients and customers. It is so true that once you start exploring yourself and expanding, other people will be able to come along, and you can share that with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you sit and wonder, if you look back, do you sit and wonder if you had went down the teaching route, do you think you would be questioning what would happen if I didn't go after Simply Zen? Or, if you were a teacher, you'd be wondering what have I missed out on? Or,
Absolutely.
it's always that question of what if. Would you say you now have the freedom that you were craving, rather than being in that, social construct of you should do this? Do you think you have that now?
Absolutely. I think that if I had went and completed that teaching degree, in 2020, it would have been 2021 then by the time I did that, I would probably be in that teaching mode now, 2 years maybe, if even, because it's still quite difficult to get a job, especially here. I think that right now I'm still searching for a greater sense of freedom. I think we all are, no matter what stage of our journey we're at. because, as we say, our spirit is always seeking fuller expansion and further expression, no matter what point we're at. And even when we pass on to the next stage of our journey, that will be the same case. Well, we think anyway. But I do think that I do have a greater sense of freedom, definitely. You know, I essentially get to choose my hours that I do, you know. I work enough to fulfill myself, to fulfill the business. And then I also still have free time to do my podcast. I still have time to have a day for just me and Amy, my partner, you know, where we try and do stuff together, you know, because that's very, very important in a relationship. And then I still have another day where I can just choose to do whatever I want. If I need to help any family members, if I need to see friends, whatever it may be, you know. So it really is, it's never about the money. It's about the sense of freedom that you get. And money can help that. But people also need to remember that money is an enhancer. You know, if anybody knows their crystals, I always call it like clear quartz, because clear quartz amplifies energy. And I always say money is an enhancer. So if you're great at using your money, if you're using it for good, if you're, you know, if you're just a genuine, authentic person and you're being your authentic self, that will enhance that. But if you're not that type of person and you're using it for all the wrong reasons, it will also enhance that too. So you need to be careful with money as well. So it's not the be all and end all, but it's the sense of freedom that you get. And I do look back at times and I go, what if I had have done the teaching, like you said? And for me, what if's a big, big statement, because it doesn't exist. It's in the past, you know? It's a choice that you could have made, but you didn't. And I always sometimes think, you know, what if I had have done that? And I'm really, really glad that I didn't, because I know a lot of friends who are also now teachers. And I know a lot of teachers that have been in education for years, many, many years, decades. And there's a lot of people telling me, aren't you glad you didn't do this? Because they don't even want to be there. And some of them are only a couple of years in, some of them are 20 years in, you know. So really, really, and I'm so, so grateful to be sitting here today. I'm in Lisbon at the minute, you know, but in this space, I'm comfortable myself. I'm comfortable with life, and I'm comfortable with the business and the choices that I've made. And I don't have any regrets of that.
Yeah, I know. I just love that you don't have the regrets and that you're so happy where you are right now. And isn't it funny how the thing is that you really loved was teaching, but you also wanted the freedom. And unfortunately, when you teach in our educational system, there is no freedom. You are within a system. Teachers only have so far. It's like myself, I never wanted to be a teacher in the school. I love teaching, but it's what I'm passionate about, which is this work. You can't teach that in a school, but you also can't have freedom. And also you don't really have too much opportunities to increase your income also as a teacher. You can move up the ranks, but you know, it takes a long time as well and a lot of hard work. So isn't it funny that you wanted those two things, but it meant you had to then go out into your business and teach this work because it wasn't possible in that education system that we've all been through, you know. So okay, Padraig, so what we'll do now, if you don't mind sharing the practical application, what are all the ingredients that you included, all like any practices, any routines, or just anything that you done in your part of the action to work in harmony with the law of attraction to get you to where you are right now?
There's a few key points. I think I've touched upon first and foremost that committed decision. You know, you have to make the decision first and foremost. You know, if you're on the fence, and again, like I said, having the attention span, putting your eggs in a couple of different baskets, it's going to be more difficult for you, and it's also going to bring your mental well-being down as well if you're struggling as well. So making that committed decision is probably the first step. The second step again then is probably the letting go phase, which again, like we said, can be the scariest phase because there's so much uncertainty with it. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know how it's going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen. You can set your goals, but it doesn't always mean it's going to hit by that, you know, that date. Because the universe works in very, very mysterious ways. And it works for our highest good as well. You know, that's the main thing. I think practical application when it came to me doing and sort of moving into the the actual attraction phase at that time in 2020, I remember doing a particular event experience of what I was a participant on this event on the edge of Black Mountain, Divis Mountain. In August 2020, it was August the 8th, and I always love it for a spiritual reason. It's called the Lionsgate Portal. So it's the 8th of the 8th. It's a really, really significant day for manifesting. So if anybody's thinking about anything like that, 8th of the 8th, the 8th of August, every year, Lionsgate Portal. And we were up the mountain and we did some yoga, we did some mindfulness. And I think that was the first time I properly sat down and wrote out my goals, what I wanted to achieve in life. And everybody will hear this all the time, but I always started with, I am ... And usually I say, I am so incredibly happy and grateful now that, because it's very, very important to be living from the shoes of the person that you want to be, you know, even if you're not feeling it, begin to do that. We were on the edge of the mountain. I was overlooking the Springfield Road in Belfast. Hadn't a clue what was coming 8 days later. I think it was 8 days later. Yeah. And I wrote down on the book a couple of different things. And one of those things was to have a small shop space where I could have a shop and also do therapies as well. 8 days later, where did I get a shop? On the Springfield Road in Belfast.
Oh my God. No
You
way.
know,
On
yeah.
the Springfield Road.
Yes. Now, bear in mind, it was an industrial unit, but it was what I was seeking. You know, it came to me because I wrote that down, because I used that morning to fulfill myself, to fill my cup. And I wrote it down on that book and really, really felt as if I had achieved that. You know, that morning was so, so powerful for me. So that is one thing. Journaling and writing your goals down, really, really important. Really, really important. And I still do that to this day. You know, I write it slightly differently now. I don't write it in bullet points, but I have a moleskin book, and I write out in my 1-page book every day, put the date on the top. Today, I am so incredibly happy and grateful to be alive. And then I continue on with, you know, I am this, I am that, I am living this kind of life, and I am doing these activities and these experiences, and I'm helping these people, and I'm expanding, you know. And I finish it off simply by saying, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. Because so many of us at a certain point will feel like we're not. And I think that's where that having that faith and that love and that belief in yourself comes in. It's so, so important. And I read that journal entry every single day. I write it, I read it out loud. I say it to myself in the mirror. And then at the very end, I say, I am enough. Have a great day, and give myself a high five in the mirror. And as cringy as it sounds, it makes me smile so much. And a smile can simply raise your vibration by 10,000 times. So that's my practical application I do every day. On top of that, I also visualize and meditate every morning as well. Even if I'm not trying to consciously manifest or use the law of attraction, I will simply just use it for a bit of headspace to be able to gain that sense of clarity. I also think that you know, visualizing is great. We also need to feel what it would be like. So if you can tap into the feeling at some point, that's very, very important. And then, as you know, through our lovely Bob Proctor stickman figure, which we spoke about before on the podcast too, action is very, very important too. If you are simply just sitting and visualizing it, it can be powerful. But sometimes you also need to put yourself outside of the bubble, put yourself in circumstances that you wouldn't normally find yourself. I remember in particular when we were, so let's take, for example, August 2020, we signed for our little industrial unit, and we opened it September. Then we went until December, and then we had our second big lockdown. And we were like, great, we don't know what's going to happen here. A lot of uncertainty, but again, there's nothing I could do about it. I had no control over it. So let's just let it go. Came to February 2021. So we're looking August, September, October, November, December, 5 months we were in the unit, 4 months trading. And then 7 months up to February 2021, I did an amazing course. I think it was called The Science of Success or something like that, The Science of Achievement. And it was the material of Bob Proctor, which you'll be very familiar with, and a couple of other people. And I don't know what happened to me that week, but something changed within me, something changed within my mind, something changed within my soul. And it was like, you need to grow, you need to expand, you need to get out there. And we were still in the middle of lockdown. I was like, what am I going to do here? Like, what am I supposed to do? And secretly, I started looking for a new premises, because again, once we got the first premises, I was like, okay, this is a stepping stone. I want an actual shop front on a high street somewhere. Don't know where it's going to be. It's going to be Belfast, Lisburn, or somewhere close by. And I could sort of see this lovely sort of, I don't know if you would call it boutique or ideal sort of shop, with the door in the middle and the windows by the side, and the frame of the sign above. I could see that all in my head, and I just needed to feel it. So what I did was I went out, did a little bit of research, did a little bit of property viewing, again, taking that action, but I still couldn't feel it. I couldn't really understand what it would feel like. And so we stepped into a couple of properties, and we were actually going to take a property 2 doors up and rent that for a couple of years here in Lisburn. And I just thought, there's something not quite right. I put in a proposal. I wasn't too sure whether I wanted to take it, and I still felt that something wasn't right. And again, always listen to what your body is telling you, your soul, your intuition. Your body will give you signs and symbols from your intuition. And so I found one 2 doors down, and both myself and Amy came out. It was the first property that we looked at where the agent didn't come in and show us around. He just sort of said, there you go, have a look. He stood outside. I took 2 steps into this building, Carrie, and I felt it instantly. Now, Amy sort of was like, oh, I don't know, there's a bit more work to be done. She was still probably in the headspace. 2 hours later, she was like, yep, I can feel it now. I know what you mean. The more I've thought about it. So visualize it, feel it, and act upon it. And it doesn't always have to be in those order. I personally have found that it doesn't have to be in the order that goes. But there's 3 very important steps to achieving those goals. Practical application, visualize, feel, and act upon it. You know, write in your journal every day, put out your affirmations, listen to subliminal messaging when you're going to sleep at night. You know, do these activities as well. I always give advice, do these activities first thing in the morning or last thing before you go to bed, because that is when your mind is going into the subconscious mode, because we're ready for sleep. And when we sleep, the conscious mind goes down, the subconscious comes out. You know, so try and do it at those times of the day, because those are the best times for you to begin to integrate those into your paradigm. And it's not easy. It's a longer process than you think. You know, it's easier said than done, but it can be done. And the more repetitive you are with it, the more you will achieve your goal in maybe a shorter space of time, or in the way that you want to achieve it. And it's important to also have that vision as well. I think persistency and consistency as well are very, very important. And some people watching or listening might know this story. I know you'll probably know it from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, but it's an amazing story that's always stuck with me and with Amy. And I can speak for her on that. And it's the story of 3 feet from gold. And it is just such an amazing story that I will never forget it. And it's basically just about a young man who, during the gold rush in the US in the 19th century, was mining. And, you know, he was struggling to find gold. They found a lot at the time. It was able to pay off the mine, and he continued going. The gold ran out. He struggled and to the point where he just gave up. He just gave up. And he sold the mine, he sold the equipment to a junk man, and the junk man came in, and he was determined. He was like, no, I'm going to find this. He sought counsel of somebody who knew what mines were, you know, because that guy didn't have any information, didn't have the knowledge. He just went, I'm just going to mine away. And I think having people around you, having a mastermind of like-minded people is very, very important as well, because that helps raise your vibration too. And it allows you to cross ideas with each other as well. And so then that junk man came in, he got the counsel, you know, that the counsel said, turn a couple of degrees to the right, to the left, whatever it was, dig that way and you'll find the gold. And literally 3 feet away was the gold, the new vein. And that guy became a millionaire, billionaire, I think it was. And it just shows you that with persistency and being consistent with your actions, you can find that, but also having counsel around you who are the right people around you, having that mastermind of like-minded people as well, it can also be very, very important too. And that's why I think that myself and Amy work very, very well, because we know what we want. Amy's very creative, so she's great at visualizing. I'm great at taking the action and having the faith and the belief. And we have a few other people around us as well that are also very, very confident in themselves and in the actions that they take too. And if you can surround yourself with people like that, you're a winner already. You know, whether you're doing it for your own personal growth, whether you're doing it for your relationship, whether you're doing it for your family, or whether you're doing it for business purposes, whatever it may be, you know, moving forward in that direction is key.
Yes. Oh, yeah, I think you've just summed up the whole book, Think and Grow Rich. Every chapter, the 13
Yeah.
steps, everything's in that book. Oh, and you know, like what you were saying there, what I love about the whole thing is the mystery of it. It's just, it blows your mind, because you go, oh my God, when you manifest, like when you and Amy walked in to the shop 2 doors down, that was like bumping into the love of your life, you know, and going, oh my God, this is my soulmate. Where that was you with the shop, you felt the connection right away because you were guided to go there, even though you still took the action. You get in your car and drove to Lisburn and had to meet up with the estate agent to show you other places. So there's the action that you took, which was what we call inspired action. You were inspired to take that action for some reason, and you took it. And you didn't know you were going to the wee shop 2 doors down, but something was calling you in there. And this is,
sorry, I've mentioned this before to you, I think as well, you know, at that point, after doing that sort of week-long course on the science of achievement or whatever it was, the science of success, we were driving up and down the street in Lisburn that we were going to take the shop on. And every week we did it, every Sunday. I don't know why, but we just did it. We were inspired to do it. And we still hadn't taken this particular shop. We didn't even know it was here, you know. We were taking the other shop. And after those weeks of doing that, we just kept doing it on a Sunday. And I thought there must be something more. And then we were guided to this shop. And I always use that example because it's like subconscious, you know, manifestation. You know, you're a subconscious creator because you're doing it without even knowing it a lot of the time, you know. And there's a lot of things that I do in life that I find, you know, sometimes I imagine my life a bit like a movie in my head or a music video, because I'm a music guy, and things just begin to happen, you know. And I think you gotta tap into that imagination. And that's the problem, you know, when we grow up, we lose our sense of imagination when it's one of the most important things that we can have, you know.
absolutely. I mean, it is one of our higher mental faculties, and even the school system doesn't really allow us. There's not much room there, maybe in the early years for imagination, but there's not much wiggle room there for kids to keep using their imagination. And it really is what's creating our life. Like I said, I just love the whole mystery of it. And if people just understand this one thing, the subconscious mind is so powerful, and every single person has one. And it's the part of us that is connected to divine intelligence. It's the part of us that's connected to God. And if we understand the language it speaks, and if we can put in a new idea into there, like my new business, you know, your shop, simply saying, if we can put the new idea in there, the subconscious mind will take over, and it will literally carry you to the places you need to go in order to make it happen. It's just magic. And it isn't. I'm just saying the word magic to sort of try and sum up that feeling of, oh, it just amazes you to go, this is unbelievable. And I just want so many people to start using this in their life, you know, and enjoy the benefits of the law of attraction.
Absolutely. You know, magic is real, you know, not pulling a bunny out of a hat, but magic is real. And we use it every day, you know, but a lot of the time we're subconsciously using it, and we may be in the wrong frame of mind. So we're bringing in the wrong things into our lives. And when we start to have that conscious attitude towards ourselves, people around us, the world around us, the universe, and we become more aware of the law of attraction and even the other laws of the universe, then we can begin to bring that magic into our lives. And like you said there, it's that feeling. You just feel it, Like I said, when we stepped into this building, we felt it. When we stepped into the building that we just opened in November in 2022 in Belfast, we felt it again. We looked at other places, and I think that was like the third or the fourth premises that we looked at. And I really thought it was the first premises that we looked at. And I thought I felt it in my mind, but my tummy was churning down there, and I was going, no, it's going to be the right one. But my tummy was going, no, it's not the right one. And that is where your intuition, your messages come in, use your gut feeling, because it's there for a reason, And we stepped into that premises in Royal Avenue in April 2022, instantly felt it, And it's funny, I've been in that premises before as a customer in the shop that was in it before. So I sort of knew a little bit about it. But I just knew it was the right place, But it's that feeling, that magical feeling that you get. It's next to none. You can't recreate it, but you can feel it, absolutely.
Yeah, and if the thing is, you can't make it as magical as it is if you're doing it by yourself. If you're trying to force and control and predict everything, you just cannot get that recipe right. You cannot get that feeling right. It has to be that partnership, the conscious partnership with the law of attraction in order to do it. And when we're talking about the gut is more of the danger, or be aware. You get that feeling, no, like I don't like that person's energy, or I shouldn't walk down this dark entry. That all comes from our gut, and we should always go with the gut. The intuition's in the heart when we want to know the answer to a really important decision, like you done at the start. You went into your heart and asked, what, is this right for me, this career path? So one more thing, Padraig, before we go, I just want to ask, where did faith come into this? I think you've touched on it slightly, but where did faith come into this whole process?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. And I should probably point out here that when I talk about faith, and I'm sure you probably will too as well, we're not talking about religious faith. But I think that at that point in 2020, I needed faith in myself. I was maybe looking to other people, whether it was friends, whether it was my partner, whether it was family. And I was always maybe seeking faith externally. And I think that's what we do sometimes as well, especially with social media these days. We're always looking and comparing and stuff. But I needed faith in myself. And that's one thing when we said about the what if. I think when I look back and I say to myself, what if I didn't do this? What if I didn't make that committed decision? I think that it would be very, very hard for me to say that I would have developed faith in myself, or even just within that space of time that I did. Because after about a month or two, I was going to myself, I've got this. I think actually from the moment that I made the decision, I thought, I've got this. But, deep down, you just sort of have a little bit of uncertainty, but you just have to let it go. And somebody asked me that before as well. They were like, how are you so comfortable with just giving up and giving in? Not in a sense of giving up, but just offering it up here. I want to do this. Guide me, show me, allow the seed to grow. Because I know that some people around me are very sort of analytical thinkers. They're very sort of, everything has to be strategized. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to go with my heart. And if it doesn't work, it wasn't meant to be, and if it was, then it will work. But again, consistency, persistency, trusting in the universe, trusting in God, whatever it may be. But first and foremost, trusting in yourself.
Oh. Well, that's the perfect way to wrap this up. And yeah, absolute trust, faith, and just having that connection to yourself, your soul, to know when it's calling you for something bigger and better for you, and it wants to work through you. So it's not an easy journey, but it is quite an adventure. It is, isn't it? It's quite an adventure when you say yes to your soul and you go with it. And everybody has to just experience it themselves, I think. So
yeah, everybody's journey is different, but no matter what, you will come out the other end better for yourself and for everybody around you. And just embrace the process. Just allow it to take its shape, you know, because you'll look back and go, I overcame that, or I did that, you know, I actually did that, you know. And there's so many moments I'm so grateful for. So yeah, having trust and faith and love in yourself, you know, that's where it all begins. That's where the magic happens.
Does. And I'm so grateful to you. I'm so grateful for you coming on here and sharing your story with us. And I know it's definitely going to inspire people who are maybe thinking, I want to own my own business, I want to follow my purpose. And I really, really hope that they get the inspiration from this conversation with you, Padraig, to help them take that first step. So thank you so, so much
Thank you
for
very
sharing
much.
with us. And I will see you soon, Padraig. All right,
Thank
you
you.
have a great day.
Yes, bye bye.
Bye.